welcome to Up to Your Ears. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Vanessa, and this is Josie.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. And our guest today is the one and only Ben London from Seattle, Washington. You guys may have remembered we interviewed Steve Mack of Stag recently, and so now we get to interview Ben. And Ben not only was in Stag, but before Stag, he was in a band called Alcohol Funnycar. Great band. They just released a single during COVID, and it's going to, all the proceeds are going to Save Our Stages. So check it out if you haven't. We are very excited. I think he's...
Yes, he is. So let's let him in.
Awesome.
Set it up. Hi, I'm Vanessa.
Hey, Vanessa. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Ben. Nice. You're looking so very dapper today. Like,
well,
I like the hair.
My
and
COVID look.
It's a good one. You know, here's something. We recently interviewed Steve. We had a great interview with him. He was super fun. He also has that COVID beard rocking. His is a little bit larger than yours. He's going for like the ZZ Top look.
Substantial. Yeah, no, I've done the full COVID makeover, and I'm cool with it. So I'm agitated, dazed and confused, and it's just another day.
All right. So first question for you: when you were growing up, what was your favorite cartoon to watch?
Oh gosh, I think the first one that I really got into was Speed Racer. So I have memories of my family. My dad was a college professor, and we spent a couple years where he was like a visiting professor out in Southern California. So we were living in San Diego. And this would have been early 70s. So I was pretty young, but I don't know if it was first run or second run at that point, but I was entranced with Speed Racer, just the whole thing just got me. And I watch it now, and I'm kind of like, oh, it's kind of cool, but it doesn't translate the same way to me being an adult, but as a kid, it was everything.
Do you remember that one having minimal dialogue?
There wasn't much dialogue, and there was like, cars and technology and adventures and all that sort of stuff. So it was pretty cool. And then, but I think some of the aesthetic of Speed Racer, that Japanese style of animation, I've definitely been a fan of at other points in my life as well. So I think that's really cool. And I don't know, it was kind of punk in some ways too, like the whole like secret brother, the Racer X or whatever. And,
yeah.
Family dynamics, like, hey, I guess their family doesn't get along because that guy pretends to be someone else. So maybe it was like a metaphor for like somebody that comes out or something like that back in the day. And it's like, oh yeah, who knows what the folks thought about that were doing it. But I don't know.
And he raced with a monkey, didn't he? Wasn't
he did?
He did. His co-pilot?
I think so. Yeah. And so, or their pal. I think there was something in the 70s with monkeys, right? Like those Clint Eastwood movies where he'd run around with monkeys and stuff. It was just sort of like, well, going to the zoo's not enough. I need to bring this monkey.
Was it like BJ and the Bear or one of those?
Oh yeah, that one too.
Who had a monkey?
I mean, I guess it was a trope that maybe like, in the 70s, they're like, men are so immature, the only people that can tolerate their company are monkeys. And so that's why they have these solitary tales of dudes and the monkeys cruising around together or something. I don't
know. All right, next question. If you could have a wild animal as a pet, leading into this, we understand that, of course, you would want all animals to be free and wild. But in this hypothetical world where you could have a wild animal for a pet, what would it be and why?
Boy, well, the obvious go-to would talk about a monkey here, but I think not. I don't have enough cocaine to own a monkey.
Or diapers.
I don't know what jumps to mind. For some reason, a zebra. I think it'd be pretty rad to have like a zebra walking in the backyard, just because it'd be great to look at, or a giraffe.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool too, because
Ooh, I love giraffes.
it would help with some of the pruning and stuff too, that they could take care of the trees and
The trees.
So a service animal of sorts.
yeah, exactly. I think
Yeah.
aren't all animals service animals of some variety?
I think so. Okay,
That's a
next
great
question. Music related.
Okay.
Beats or a melody?
Oh gosh, probably melody first. That's what kind of gets stuck in my head. More so than anything, like I'm not a great lyrics person. Like I can listen to songs for years and I still have no idea what a bunch of the words are, but it's the way that it sounds like whatever they're saying, and then the melody itself is probably what gets stuck in my brain more than anything. So, but it's kind of like salt without pepper. I mean, it's we can answer these questions, but it's hard to think of not a beat not being a part of that as well. But I guess I'd go melody first.
All right, that's what inspires you. All right, being the avid reader that you are, I'm sure, have you read all those books on your shelf, or are they just for show?
Gosh, a combination of both, probably. I'm a little, my eyes are bigger than my stomach sometimes when it comes to reading, and I'll buy books and haven't gotten around to it yet. But I'm also, I've got a really narrow lane for what I like to read. I'm always like, I really need to branch out and start reading like, history books or this, that, and the other thing. And I feel like most of my reading has to do with like reading rock biographies and things like that. So I've got a very thin lane of stuff, but I do like reading. When I find a book that I like to read, I'm insatiable. I just want to read. But then to get in, it's that first couple pages that's sometimes the hardest to get over the threshold of what you want to read, or whether it's worth keep going on, or easier just to turn the Netflix on. So
Yeah.
I recently read Kathy Valentine's autobiography, and that was page turner.
I've heard it's awesome. And then, I mean, I'm sure we've all heard those stories for years. I haven't seen that documentary yet, but it sounds like they had a lot of fun, the Go-Go's over the years. So I look forward to reading that at some point.
Okay. On the lighter side, donuts or croissants?
Oh boy. If I was a little more highfalutin, I would probably say croissants, but probably donuts. And in fact, I had a job one summer as a glazer and a filler at a donut shop.
What?
Nice.
When I was in college, and I worked from midnight till 6 a.m, 6 days a week. It was the only job I could find.
Oh my God.
And the guy that I worked with, it was just me and this other guy that turned out to be had a massive weed operation, and he kept this job solely so he would have some way to declare income that was coming in. And it was very, very weird. It was a summer I spent in Ann Arbor, Michigan, even though I didn't go to school in Michigan, but I was there for the summer. And but I couldn't eat donuts for years after that, but I do enjoy. They started making better donuts, so I'll go donut.
Is there a place in Seattle that makes your favorite bomb donut?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a place called Top Pot, which has become quite big, but it's more of an artisanal donut than just your sort of regular old thing. And then when my kids were a little younger, we'd go down to Portland, every year, a couple times a year, and we'd always go to Voodoo Donuts down there that make I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they make the really, very flamboyant donuts, very,
Yeah, they do.
sort of stuff. So, but I like a caked donut better than a raised donut.
Probably because I like glazing and filling.
Yeah, you can't fill a cake donut, but there's nothing like filling 1,000 donuts 2 at a time. So it's
they were selling a lot of donuts then.
They were. This was pre-Starbucks, right? So everybody's morning ritual, or probably pre-fast food breakfast too, or whatever. So it was basically just like donuts and coffee.
I did notice I have. Oh, okay. Oh, those are your questions? Okay, I was just going to say, I want to interject here because I know, Ben, your old band, Alcohol Funnycar, had a record called Time to Make the Donuts, right?
Oh, we did. And that's that actually, the title came from me talking to the guys in the band about my job and, joking about it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, Ben, my questions. All right, first question for you. What was the first concert that you remember going to, that you chose to go to?
Oh, so this was a big deal. I was thinking about this recently, and I don't remember exactly what year it was, but it was the mid '70s or something. And I got my dad to take me to see the Captain and Tennille. I think this is when they had their TV show, Muskrat Love and Love Will Keep Us Together. And I just thought it was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, that guy that plays keyboards and wears a hat? Wow, that's insane. A captain's hat? No, but I mean, those songs were on the radio, and we were living in Champaign, Illinois at the time. My dad was teaching at the University of Illinois, and we went and saw them at the basketball arena, the Assembly Hall, and some comedian opened up for them, back when comedians opened up for rock bands. And I remember the big deal was they had some song. They were known for having dogs, like poodles or something like that. And so during one of the songs, they had these screens where they projected pictures of dogs up, and the whole crowd was like, "Oh, it's their dogs!" Oh,
No.
So bizarre.
But the other part about that was remembering, you see people playing music on TV and you're up close, right? So it was to be in a big arena and it's dark and there's sensory overload and it's loud, but you're a ways away, right? So that the people are only about that big off in the distance too. So it was kind of like a little disjointed experience as well, because you think, I'm going to go to this concert, and it's like you're going to be in the front row, and I was not. So that was my first like concert, but my first concert was I went and saw Black Sabbath and Blue Oyster Cult together, and that was memorable because it was the first time I smoked pot as well, and it was a complete shit show, the whole thing. I mean, it was like back in the day, like they'd set up, you'd be in the basketball arena or whatever it was, and the stage is here, and the seats come out around that. But back in the day, rather than like putting the speakers on the stage, they'd actually put them kind of like, here were the seats and the speakers are right here. So we were like sitting like right next to the speaker. Like, the stage, just blisteringly loud, was a little bit high. Ronnie James Dio is a very evil looking dwarf of a man that we know, and he kept making a cross out of the stand and was like howling at the audience and stuff, and it was just sort of what's going on here. And then a guy that I was with ended up getting grabbed by security because he thought it was a good idea to bring a knife in his boot or whatever, because he's like, oh, we might get jumped there or something. I have no idea.
And I'm going to fend everyone off with this knife in my boot.
No, it was pretty insane. And I'd love to see, I wish there was a bootleg of that show. But it was pretty mind altering. It was pretty awesome.
Were your parents aware that you were going to see Black Sabbath?
Yeah, they were pretty, I mean, my parents were kind of like beatniks, and that didn't freak them out. I mean, and in hindsight, I mean, if I think being a parent of my own kids today, like if we're going to go get in like my friend's older brother's van and drive out the Coliseum where the show was like 45 minutes outside of town. We're going to drive out there and then go to a concert, and I might be home at like, 1 a.m. or something like that. And I have to go to school the next day. And they're like, yeah, all right, sounds good.
Yeah, hell no.
I mean, my parents at one point, my dad, when the Rolling Stones came in '81, basically just like dropped me off out front and was like, I'll be out here at 11:30. You better meet me whether the concert's over or not, or you're walking home. And it's like, it was a different time. So
yeah, my mom was pretty strict. I remember discovering suicidal tendencies when I was like 13 or something and loving it, And my mom came in the bedroom and was like, Vanessa, I don't like this music. Who is this? And my mom's not super straight-laced at all, but I think I was listening to, I Saw Your Mommy.
Oh, yeah.
This is not okay.
I have an older brother that's 4 years older than me, and so they got used to it a little bit through that. But, my dad being a musician and a composer and stuff, I mean, he was out of that world already, so he'd seen his share, He was probably smoking with pop people and, with people with jazz folks in the 50s or something like that. So it wasn't that new to him. It was just the rest of the America.
Did you just say pop people?
Yeah, he was hanging out with the pop people. No, he was smoking pot with people, I said. But But we can just call them the pop people. That's cool too.
I think in the 50s, they probably did call them the pop people.
On Ben, I know that you've met so many people in the music industry, but have you ever been starstruck by another musician?
Well, I can tell you a couple examples. There's in different variations of that, but you know, one that jumps to mind is, so I worked for a music museum here in Seattle for a bunch of years that was called Experience Music Project. It's called Mopop now. And we were doing a series of concerts that were tied into a UN organization that was raising awareness about water quality. So there's a bunch of big artists on it. And a friend of mine and I were walking across the back plaza behind the museum, which is near where the monorail is at the Seattle Center. And we're walking along and this guy comes up and he's like, "Excuse me, do you know how I get up to that train?" And I'm like, "Well, yes, Joe Strummer." Can we walk over and show you where? And it was just like, oh my God, you know. And so like seeing the Clash, I saw the Clash a couple times when I was in high school. I mean, one show was just absolutely life-changing at a movie theater in Akron, Ohio. They did like 3 warm-up dates before they went on tour with The Who. And Curtis Blow opened up for him. And to this day, it was just like one of the best shows. I actually found a bootleg of that show, and listening to it reminded me that, oh, it really was that good. It wasn't just my teenage memory.
That.
Yeah.
So that was one. And then I worked for the Grammys for a bunch of years. And when I'd go down for the show, some years I'd sit in the audience and some years I'd hang out backstage. And there's a photographer, Danny Clinch, who takes photos of the winners. And I'm back there in the room. And again, I didn't really talk to them. So to say that I met them, again, I was in the room. But Paul McCartney walks in and Jay-Z walks in and they start having a conversation together. I mean, it's just like any other business. It's like, hey, I haven't seen you for a while. What do you know? And so
Yeah.
Paul McCartney, like, how the kids, you know, like all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, I can't believe that, you know, more Paul McCartney just because he's so omnipresent in our lives. It's like, wow, he exists. Look, he talks. He looks just like Paul McCartney. It's, you know, so it was pretty wild. And then you look at him and you go,
like him.
yeah, they're not like us. They are a different breed of people. They're like exotic animals. You like see them in the person. It's like, I'm a human being. And that person's like a human being plus. Like you just look at every shape of, they're just angular in a way that normal people aren't. And that was pretty wild as well.
Okay, Ben, if you now in your current band, Stag, could go on tour with any other bands, what would your dream tour be?
Boy, such a tough one. That's like when people say, "What's your favorite band?" People always love to ask musicians that, and you're like, I don't know.
I don't know.
Let me see. So I think a fun one would be, well, one that would just be awesome just to be around it, and I think that we could kind of like mix in with them enough. But like if you could go on tour with the Faces or something like that.
Oh yeah,
be awesome. Particularly having met Mac before he passed away.
Yeah.
Down in Austin. And
Yeah.
he's a great guy, and I got the impression, they were always known as a band that really liked to tip one back or tip many back over the course of a day. And so I think they've been a lot of fun to kind of hang out and get into hijinks backstage. And then just to see that sort of power every night would be pretty amazing as well.
Okay, well, my last question for you, Ben, is what advice would you give your 15-year-old self?
You'd be really happy if you practiced harder right now. I mean, there's things like that I mean, I feel like as a musician, when I had the most opportunity was probably between the times I was 18 and 30 or 18 and 25. But my musicianship probably has gotten a lot better as I've gotten into my 40s and now into my 50s. That if I had spent more time then I probably potentially might have had more opportunity tied to that when I was in that sort of prime period of trying to be a full-time musician. So,
well, Ben, I want to know what's going on with you.
Yeah, so I was lost the first couple months of the lockdown and not sure what to do, and so I just was trying to keep busy. And so I started doing this thing where having people give me lyrics, and I would just write a song in a day and record it and put it up, and did about 20 of those. And as part of that process, I started thinking about stuff. So I talked to Tommy, who's a good friend of mine, who was the bass player in Alcohol Funnycar, and I was like, "Hey, do you want to do a song, a COVID song?" And so we put it together pretty quickly. And then a friend shot a video, and we did what I like about the video is that we captured all of the music venues and sort of associated businesses that we're really passionate about that were closed, and there was murals and things that were painted on the front of all those, and so kind of got a time capsule of the city. But it was a lot of fun to do, and people seem to like it, which was nice. So anything we can do to put a little sunshine into people's lives during this is worth it. And so I'm hoping to get back to it again. We were talking with some friends about recording a couple songs between now and the beginning of the new year. So we'll see what happens.
Can you tell us a little bit more about Black Fret?
Oh, sure,
Awesome.
sure. Yeah, Black Friday has been moving along. So again, the past 2 years pre-COVID, or a year and a half, I'd been working to scale this nonprofit that started in Austin, Texas in 2013 called Black Fret to Seattle. And what drew me to it was Black Fret's created this interesting model about how they can raise money providing unique music experiences for donors, but then that money gets given out in the form of grants to musicians to do things like make records and go on tour. So since its inception in 2013, they've distributed over $2 million in grants and performance fees to musicians, and primarily in Austin. So we had done all the work to get launched here in Seattle. We'd raised the money, gotten people to sign up as our first batch of members. We had our launch party on the 29th of February of this year. And then basically within a week, the whole country.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So it took a little while for us to figure out how we could proceed
Yeah.
with it. And we had a bunch of people that had committed to becoming members that had to pull back for employment reasons. And, obviously there's a lot of hardship going around. But we decided it was really important that we fulfill upon our mission irregardless. And so we moved forward. We were able to award $50,000 in grants to 10 artists this year in Seattle. So we gave out 10 $5,000 grants. And then we were able to transition and do a 10-part streaming concert series featuring those artists. We also found some other ways to support musicians in the community. We have a fledgling program that actually started out of Austin that's tied to these happy hours, where basically companies can hire musicians to come play at their team meetings and their Zoom calls and things like that. And so we got a $50,000 grant that started that.
Fun.
And then, but from that, we were able to award to date $155,000. That 50 turned into $155,000 into musicians' pockets. And we just got a private individual that stepped forward to fund that program more fully for 2021.
Wow, awesome.
We did that. And then lastly, we collaborated as an organization. So down in Austin, you guys have a nonprofit called HAM that does a lot of health stuff for musicians. And the musician Ian Moore, who's an Austin resident originally, but has lived in Seattle for a while, started an organization called SMASH, which is Seattle Musicians Access to Sustainable Healthcare. And so I've booked their benefit show and produced it the last couple of years. And then this year, there's a woman that's taken over as the executive director of that organization, so she handled a lot of it. But I basically curated the talent for it this year. And we did an interesting thing where we took established artists and put them together with emerging artists, and many of them were Black Fret grant recipients. So we created this unique collaborations and had a series of film directors do videos for them. And so we raised about a little short of $150,000 for SMASH, this program, and it's still counting, but we were able to put, some people like Dave Matthews did a song. Dave Matthews and this artist, Tomo Nakayama, did a cover of Johnny Nash's I Can See Clearly. The Black Tones and Mike McCready from Pearl Jam did a cover of U2's Pride in the Name of Love. What else? Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses and Shayna Shepherd, this woman, amazing singer from this band Barracks, did a cover of Sam Cooke's A Change Is Gonna Come. Just a bunch of stuff like that turned out really great. And I'm really, thankful from a member of this community that we were able to have this impact, but thankful just from a personal level that I had these projects to really focus on during this, because I know so many folks, Josie, you being one of them, and that worked in the live event and music business, and just, there's really not much. We're all just waiting to get back to it, right? And so really hoping that this is a bridge to getting us back, and we'll all be back in rooms together. But the other thing we're doing is we're kicking off in 2021. We've already done some work already, but we're starting a campaign that's going to raise money that's going to fund our expansion. So our goal is to be in 5 more cities in the next 3 years. And so we see this model it's been very successful to date of what it can do. And, you know, any city in America where the cost of living keeps going up and it gets harder for musicians to live there can use this. And then also there's a certain, you know, not everybody is, you know, between 21 and 35 that can go out 5 or 6 nights a week to normal venues. So I feel like we're creating additional opportunities where bands or artists can go out and they can play their normal gigs, and then they can come to ours that are more private gigs. But, and, you know, we always pay the artists when they perform, but it's just sort of like new problems require new solutions. So I'm really excited about what we're doing with this and how it can grow over the next 5 years into a much more of a national platform rather than just Austin's.
We really appreciate you spending some time with us this morning. It was really wonderful to talk to you.
It's great as well. Vanessa, it's really nice to meet you.
We're happy for any time that we can get of fabulous people like you to spend a little time spreading the good word.
Stop.
Very good.
All right, guys. Thanks for doing this.
Bye, Ben. Thank you.
What a nice chap.
Really fun. He's such a cool dude, and I've been lucky enough to be able to play shows with him and hang out with him during South by Southwest when he's here, either playing or visiting or working on Black Fret stuff. And he's just like one of those fun guys that you're so excited to when he comes into town, and you don't want it to ever end.
No, I thought that was really interesting when he was like, you see these musicians and it's like, we're just regular people. They're not like us. And I'm like, you've looked in the mirror, right? Like, you've heard yourself speak. You've heard your music and the organizations that you're involved with. Like, please.
Yeah, no, he's right.
I think people look at you and think that, Mr. Ben London. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. It was great to talk to Mr. Ben London. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe. It just puts our videos into your recommended. It doesn't send you any weird emails or funky stuff from foreign countries. It just makes it easier to find our videos the next time you go onto YouTube.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. We have some really great interviews coming to you soon, so stay tuned.
This has been Up to Your Ears, and it sounds good. It does sound good.
All right, and until next time, bye-bye.
Bye.